Hello and welcome to the Big Fat Chat. My name is Dan, and let me explain to you what's about to go down into your pretty little earlobes. Now, I have my comfortable chair ready to go, and I also have a carbonated beverage, which has made me a little bit burpy, so I do apologize for that. But let me explain to you what's going on today. This is episode 1 of my new podcast called The Big Fat Chat. And the origins of this was about 2 months ago. I said to myself, I really want to do something, just something. I want to do something where I talk a lot because I love the sound of my own voice and I love the sound of my own opinions. So I gave my good friend, huge Welsh YouTuber, Dialing Ping, a call, and I said, do you want to do a podcast? And we said yes. We came. I went to meet with him at his gym, and I said, like, let's get this done. Like, let's start a podcast. And we agreed to it. And then, like a lot of our endeavors, it never came to fruition. But I said to myself, I'm still going to do it. So every Wednesday, I get 2-3 hours to myself when my son's in school, and I decided I'm just going to do this podcast. Now I'm hoping that the format changes and we get a way that I can go and speak to Dai, because I just think that two people having a conversation is a little bit better than one person having a discourse with himself, which is what today is about. But I digress, and the format right now, for while I'm on my own, is I'm going to pick a topic, and with that topic, I am going to just have a good, honest chat with myself about it. Maybe I'll give my perspective on something. Maybe I'll tell stories about it. Maybe I'll just give my opinion on it and just kind of see where it goes. I just think it's a good outlet for me to just kind of get everything off my chest. And I think I don't know. I'm nearly 30 years old, and I think I've led a pretty entertaining life. I think I got a lot of good stories to tell people. So fingers crossed. While I don't have Dai to pull those stories out for me, that I can just kind of riff with them and go with it from there. So today's topic that I chose is relationships, and anyone who knows me or has known me for the last, I don't know, God, it's 13 years, they'll know that I'm a serial monogamist. I've been in a relationship since I was 16, with, like, apart from a few bumps in the road, but like 2 people over 13 years. So yeah, I was 16 when I got into my first long-term relationship, and I've been in one ever since. So I'm just going to go back. I'm going to kind of relive some of the main, the milestones of my relationship life. I think there's quite a lot of stories there to be told. Some of them probably not for the public, but I mean, you know, I think it's worth delving into. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to run back to when I was 16, when I met a girl who would eventually become my fiance. I met her when I was working. I used to be a dishwasher in a small pub, just on Sundays, and then I left school, and I started there full time, and I started my career as a chef there, which I still do now. I met her, and like, I don't know, I don't believe in love at first sight. I don't, but like, there was something about her, and she was just really open, and I don't know, just really nice and kind to me. So I kind of decided that, fuck yeah, no, I really like this girl. I think we're gonna be mates. Like, so over the course of maybe 6 or 7 months, we would talk more, and she would make me a little bit more comfortable, because I was an awkward little fucker when I was a kid. When I say I was a kid, when I left school, I was a little bit awkward, and I'd never really been in a relationship before. I was essentially a virgin. I'd had sex once, but it was fucking pathetic, and so I was just this, like, kind of like person who didn't really, I didn't really have this thing with girls that a lot of 16-year-old boys do by that point. So I just kind of, I was a little bit awkward around women, and she just made me feel like really at ease, and I think that's just what started it. But at that time, she had a boyfriend, And I like, oh, every time I saw him, I just wanted to smash him in the face. And it's not because like I'd started to like her at this point, because we were still just really good fucking friends. Like I would text her with my problems, and she would listen, and it was good. Like, and but she had a boyfriend at this time. I can't remember, Rob, I think his name was, and he was just a prick, and I like, he was abusive, and like, I don't know if he ever physically hit her, but he was mentally abusive. And like say we were all having a get together in work, and it was just a really small team. It was this tiny pub, and she would wear like, I don't know, like a dress that was not even short, and he would be like, and you'd hear him talking to her, and you just wanted to, I don't know, throw him over a balcony and stuff. And I was just like, I just remember sitting, it was I don't know if it was a Christmas party, but there was some sort of party, and I was there and she was there, and I remember just saying to myself one day, I'm gonna break these two up. I think and like at this point I had obviously started to think of her more than just a friend, like, and I really wanted to kind of explore that side of it. But obviously there was a big abusive dickhole in the way, and I don't know, I had to make her see sense that she was, I don't know, she was worth way more than the way that he was treating her. And I was like, I will not stop until I am in your place, mate, because I'm gonna get with her, and we're both gonna be happy. Like, this was my like knight in shining armor moment. I'm gonna wreck your life, mate, because you are an absolute animal and I hate you. Like, so I can't remember exactly how it went down, but he said something to her when there was like a charity night on, I think, in the pub, and he'd said something really fucking horrible to her, and I just decided to have it. I'd had enough, so I just went over, and like I knew her father at this point as well, because he was a patron there, and obviously through talking to her, I'd met him, and I just told her father what he had said, hoping that, I don't know, maybe he could talk some sense into her and kind of I don't know, kind of push the situation along a little bit. It worked, because he didn't really have a word with her, but he went over and fucking threw this fucking guy over a banister or something. I remember he had him in like a rear naked choke over a banister, and like, as much as that amount of drama wouldn't have really done anything for me, but in any other situation, that amount of drama, like, I was really happy with it that night. And then I was there as like the evil mastermind to swoop in to make sure that she was all right, like, and you know, she was obviously shook up, and I took her up the front and we had a chat, and then I don't really remember how we actually got together after that, but like, I do remember the thing that I remember most about that is like, do you know that feeling of like a fresh new relationship? And it was something that I had started to want for a long time before I got it. Like, so when we finally decided, like, God, like, do you want to be my girlfriend? It's like fucking like a little 16-year-old fucking sporty dweeby prick, and I'm just like, do you want to be my girlfriend? And yeah, so I just remember that feeling of like a fresh relationship, you know, like that crisp new relationship. It smells great, everything, like you're walking down the street and everything's more colourful, and that type of stuff. And I was just like genuinely really happy, and I actually started planning like the life that we both did, actually, like about the life that we were going to have, like. And then I don't know, maybe like 8 or 9 months into it, we were fine. We were really good, like, and I think we had one of those relationships. That, like, when people look in from the outside, I feel like we had the relationship that like people wanted. I think if you were talking about us, it was never in a negative light. You'd never say like, oh fuck, why are those two together? Because they're just, I don't know, it never came about like that. It was always like, I think if people were talking about us, they were talking about our relationship in a positive manner, apart from maybe your parents, because for some reason nobody's parents like me. But yeah, so maybe 8 or 9 months into the relationship, I just get a really weird text. So I'm working in a hotel now. I've moved on from that place. We both kind of moved on. I'm working as a chef de partie in a hotel, really nice hotel, and I just get a really weird text saying like, ask Kaz about cheating on you or something. And I was like, wow, what's this now? So I didn't say anything, and I kind of just waited for. She was picking me up, so I said. So I got in the car. I remember because I hadn't passed my test at this point, and I said, and she was picking me up because she passed the test a little bit before me. So she picked me up from work, and I don't know, I just kind of sat there. We were at the junction to pull out, and I was just like, "Have you been cheating on me?" Expecting nothing, honestly, just expecting her to deny it and just kind of just move on with life, like, because I don't know, like, what do you mean you're cheating on me? Like, we're pretty shit hot, like, but like she turns to me and she's like, and then I'm just like, fuck, all right then. This is not going the way that I planned. And I know she looked at me and like fucking tears came down from her face, and she was just like, I kissed someone. And then I was like, right, okay. So like, that's like, in my mind I'm thinking, thank fuck for that, because it's nothing worse. But like, I also, in my mind, I just literally just, my brain turned into a little fetal position in my skull, and I just wanted to fucking bawl my eyes out. But I kind of got out of the car, and I was like, fuck. And then I got in, and I was like, who with? And it turns out that it was a really close friend of mine, like somebody probably, like, at that time, I would have probably put him as my best mate, and I would have like, if somebody asked me like, would you die for him, I'd probably say yes. Because I'd just been there for, I don't know, yeah. It's really weird to look back on it now, because before I met Kaz, I really, really, really fancied this girl, and that friend of mine got with her for a relationship for a little bit, and I thought he was being a dickhead to it as well. But I like, after he had thing, I kind of stuck to the bro code. I was just like, yeah, no, I'm never gonna go anywhere near her again, like. And then I find out that like he kind of did it to me, and but I was in a relationship with her at the time, and that kind of spun me out a little bit, and I don't know, yeah, that wasn't nice. But then it was even fucking worse, because then I find out that he was saying stuff. He was saying that I had said stuff that I never said, and he was trying to make out like that I wasn't happy with the relationship, which just wasn't true. Like, I was madly in love with her. Like, as in, like, I was literally like, if I was to think of my future, the only thing that I could imagine not having was her. Like, I couldn't imagine not having was her. Like, do you know what I mean? Sorry. And to hear this thing, like, from a person who I literally, like, there's very few people who I would die for on this earth. I'm not going to lie. There's even less now I'm older, but he was one of them, and I don't know, that was a really fucking shit time in my life. But like, I just decided, right, look, listen, we'll work through it. It's just, it's not going to be anything. We'll work through it, and that's kind of how it went. So I hadn't spoken to this friend of mine for a while, and I was just like, right, I can't, like, fuck, you know, I'm a bastard because I hate hypocrisy. So I said to myself, right, look, I can't take her back and then be mad at him for the rest of my life. Like, so I just can't. So he was a big motherfucker. I'd never beat him in a fight. So I turned up at his house one day, and like, he opened the door, and like, I don't know, I think I could just tell on his face that like he was either red, you know, just to get into a fight with me and batter me, or just actually just sit down. And I just said to him, like, look, I'm not going to be mad at you and then just take her back and be fine with her. Like, so I just said, we need to get this out in the fucking open air. And we just had a chat, like, and I know everything's fine. I mean, I don't see much of my school friends anymore. And that's not because I don't want to. It's just because, I know, just life gets in the way, doesn't it? And like, I see him now. He's got 2 kids. He's with a girl who's been with since we left school. They've been on and off, and it's just, I don't know. It's just like he's built a life, and hopefully he's happy, and like, I'm glad for him. And I see him every once in a while, and we'll chat for fucking hours in the middle of Asda and thing. So yeah, I think that was the first time I ever felt like my heart break a little bit. I think. And then, like, I think that was the first time I ever felt like my heart break a little bit. I think. And then, like, I think that was the first time I ever felt like my heart break a little bit. I think. And then, like, I think that was the first time I ever felt like my heart break a little bit. I think. And then, like, I think that was the first time I ever felt like my heart break a little bit. I think. And then, like, I think that was the first time I ever felt like my heart break a little bit. I think. And then, like, I think that was the first time I ever felt like my heart break a little bit. I think. And then, like, I think that was the first time I ever felt like my heart break a little bit. I think. And then, like, I think that was the first time I ever felt like my heart break a little bit. I think. And then, like, I think that was the first time I ever felt like my heart break a little bit. I think. And then, like, I think that was the first time I ever felt like my heart break a little bit. I think. And then, like, I think that was the first time I ever felt like my heart break a lit unfortunately, there was way more to come. But at that point, that was like the fuck. I know. I felt like the end of my world, and I just felt like, I don't know. I like when real life hits you, it's not very nice. But then we kind of settled back down again. I got engaged to her, so I said that she was my fiance, so we got engaged. And I had this plan to take her back to where we first had, like, there's like a little park by where I live. And the first time we met each other outside of work as boyfriend and girlfriend was this park, and we went for a walk through it, and we would just talk, and then like we'd see a bench, we'd sit on it, we'd have more talk, and then we'd walk for a bit. And I don't know, and it was just like at that time it was just like it was literally perfection for me. And I said to myself, right, I'll take her back there and I'll propose to her there. So I went out, I bought this ring. It was a really fucking nice ring. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah. So I decided, right, I'm going to ask her to marry me. I spoke to my mother, and I was just like, look, I'm going to take her back to Park Howard, and I'm going to propose to her there. Like, so I had this big plan, and then we went to Swansea for something. I can't remember what it was, but like we went to Swansea and we just had a few drinks, 1 or 2 drinks, and I accidentally slipped up that I was going to ask her. So I kind of dropped myself in the shit a little bit because I told her about my plans to get engaged to her, and it just fucking ruined it all. And and then the day when it came, she knew it was coming. So like we were walking through, and I was just like, and it kind of wrecked it a little bit, but because I was just a fucking idiot and I can't keep a secret. But I mean, we got engaged, and then my life kind of took a little, like, a downward spiral, I think. So we were looking at buying a house first of all, and she wouldn't move in with my parents for some reason. I can't remember what it was, but I don't think she was comfortable moving in with my parents. So her parents have a pretty large house. I think it's like 22 rooms or something when I tried to count it once. And they had this kind of annex above the garage. So their garage was on the left side of the house. There was a gym there. And then above that, it had like a place where you could have sofa. It had its own bedroom. It had its own TV and own shower and bathroom and whatever. So the only thing we'd have to share is like clothes washing facilities and the kitchen, and everything else we could kind of live independently. So we did that for a year, and then my life took a proper downward spiral when I was arrested for something, and I'm not going to go in too much about what I was arrested for, but it wasn't good. And I lost my job, and I think things got rocky with me and Kaz then. That's when kind of real life really takes over, and I don't know, there was this thing over my head constantly about like, are we gonna survive this? Because yeah, it wasn't a baby charge. It was a big charge that I was looking at, and I ended up being on bail for 7 months while they conducted investigations and stuff. Luckily, at the end of it, nothing came of it, but it could have been very, very bad, and I'm really thankful to this day that it never went any further. But I think from there, I think the fairy tale started to just dwindle off a little bit. Nothing was ever the same again. During that time we weren't together, I had some very, very serious suicidal thoughts. So much so that I went to my mother's house, and she's got like a shed on the bottom of the garden that had like sofas in it and stuff, like just like a sun house kind of thing. And I kind of closed all the curtains, and I wrote my mother a letter saying, like, please don't come down the back, and you've phone the police. And that's it's definitely the only time that my suicidal thoughts ever manifested in the real world as real as that. And I was saved by a phone call. But it was an extremely dark time for me, and the fear that like I had fucked everything up. That was the worst thing. It wasn't the fact that my life was falling apart. Like it was that, but it was the fact that it was all my fucking fault as well. Like I could have not done one thing, and I could have avoided it all. And that's kind of where my brain was. It was just like, fuck, I have fucked my life up. And that was the worst thing. It's just like, what have I done? Why did I do this? And I've lost everything. So like, I wasn't living with her anymore, in her parents' house anymore. I had to move back with my mother's. I lost my job. I had to sell my car. I just reset my whole life, because of this one act, and I ruined like what I thought was like the best thing in my life at the time. It was my best thing in my life at the time. And that was my relationship with Kaz. And again, we kind of sat down and talked after I'd answered bail, and I realised that I wasn't going to be charged, and I wasn't going to go to court, and I wasn't going to go to jail, which was the big thing. We sat down and had another chat, and we were just kind of like, right, we need to. It's been a tough 7 months, and I know she put up with a lot. That she was a really strong person at that time. And I don't know, I kind of broke as a human being. But we got back together, and we decided, like, right, let's buy a house, let's get back on track. I remember the day when I told her that I wasn't going to get charged, and I pulled the engagement ring out of my pocket that she had given back to me, and I was like, can we just go again? Because I was in the car outside my mother's house with her at the time, and I could drive at this point, and I don't know, that was just like, it felt like, right, I can get my life back on track now, because she's ready to go again. And yeah, so we bought a house. I think I was 21 years old when we bought the house. It was a nice house. It was a fucking bargain for the time. 3 bedrooms, 2 reception rooms, double garage, front and back garden, kind of off-road parking. It was really good. And we moved in, and we spent all the money doing the house up, and it was, life started to feel good again. I started a new job in a different hotel, and I feel like life was good. Until one day, do you know, like, when you just think to yourself and you say, I think something's going on. Like, I think something is not good here. And I started to suspect her of cheating on me again. And I wasn't just gonna sit back and wait for something to land on my lap this time. I was gonna kind of, I turned into investigator. So I think we're probably 5 or 6 years in. Maybe 5 years into this relationship now. We've had some ups and downs. I know she blamed me a lot for things when I got involved with the police, but like, apart from that, I've been nothing but loyal. I never cheated on her. There was a few times where I could have, and maybe sometimes wanted to, but I just kind of took the loyalty thing quite seriously. I didn't want to be the person that would ever smash someone's heart into a million pieces. I didn't want to be that person. And maybe people didn't feel the same way about doing it to me. But 1 sec, I need a drink. So instead of just waiting for it to fall on my lap this time, I kind of said to myself, I'm going to investigate this. So I put a keylogger on my laptop, and keylogger logs every stroke of a key on a keyboard. So if someone's talking to somebody, then you can see the things. But I also had a keylogger that saved screenshots, and every day it would compile all the usage, and it would send it to me, and then I could look at it at my leisure. So for 5 or 6 days, nothing happened. I saw some weird stuff, but I didn't see anything that was condemning, so I kind of just left it. And then one day I came home from work, and for some reason I took the laptop in to have a shit, and I was looking through the records, and then I saw a Facebook conversation between her and another one of my friends. He wasn't as close to me as the first guy, But, I mean, we were friends, and we'd see each other outside of work, and, like, I'd go over and I'd help him do whatever he's doing to his car, because he's quite a car buff, and I just started reading this conversation, and it went something along the lines, like, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of, I wish we could do, I wish I could do it, like, I wish we could do it again, like, the other night, or something like that it was. And then my friend was saying, like, oh, no, that's a bad idea. It's this we shouldn't do it. It was a stupid mistake, blah, blah, blah. So I read it, and not only had she cheated on me, but she, like, I think the most painful thing and the most, like gut-wrenching thing was the fact that she didn't regret it at all. Like, it didn't feel like she regretted it at all. It was actually my mate who was telling her, like, look, like, you, this is a bad idea, like, and she's saying stuff, like, I know that she bought him fucking aftershave and stuff, and I don't know, it hurt a lot. And then that was the night that, like, literally everything changed and nothing was the same again. Like, I kind of went downstairs and I confronted her. I was just like, fuck you, like, and then for some reason, I don't know why people do it. I think this is a human thing, where people, you ask questions that you don't want to know the fucking answer to. And, like, I was asking if he used a condom. I was asking where they did it. I was asking, and I don't know why I wanted to know so much detail, because every fucking answer that she gave me just kind of just crushed my heart a little bit more. And I don't know what that is about the human psyche that makes you want to fucking torment yourself by knowing everything. Like, but then, yeah, I don't know. From then on, nothing was the same. I like the dream that I had of meeting someone at 16 and then living a full and happy life and then dying in her arms at 80. That kind of, I don't know, started to fizzle away then. But for some reason, we decided, I genuinely believe that this is probably out of fear. I was petrified. I hadn't been an adult and not in a relationship. Do you know what I mean? I hadn't. All my entire adult life was spent in a relationship with this girl, like, and I was petrified of the unknown life that I would have if we split up. And I think that's the reason why we went ahead with the wedding and stuff. And this is my opinion, by the way. I think if you spoke to Karis, maybe the story and the timeline would be different. But this is how I remember it, and this is how I feel. So, like, after that, nothing was the same, and it never ever came back. Like, I loved her, and I really wanted it to work, but there's just something missing when you feel that pain, and the person who put you through it was someone who you literally worshipped. I just feel like maybe you never get that back. And we kind of just went along with it. We kind of played the game until we were due to get married. We were literally 2 weeks out from getting married. I think we were just sat on the sofa in our house, and we kind of both just started this weird conversation where, like, fuck, are we doing the right thing? And I don't know, there was no fighting, there was no smashing, there was no loud banging, there was nothing getting broken. We literally just sat there and just said, like, fuck, I don't know if I want to marry you anymore. And she thought the same, and I don't know, that was again, it was just hollow. It was weird, because, like, we'd have this conversation, and we would say, right, look, like, I love you with all my heart. I will love you for the rest of my life, but, like, I think that getting married is not a good idea. And and it was just mental. I went out the front of the house to speak to my mother, and she went out the back of to the back of the kitchen, and she phoned her parents. I can't remember which one she spoke to, maybe her mother. And I was just like, oh, Mum, we're not getting married anymore. And I think my mother kind of knew. She knew the relationship. I think pretty much everybody knew, actually, from the outside, that knew that we just weren't gonna survive marriage. And I think that it would have just been a messy mess. So it was really weird. But during this time, well, not during this time. We'd had everything booked, so that, like, we had to wipe out all the bookings for the wedding, which was insane. And oh god, yeah, that was it wasn't a nice time, I don't think. But I think it was good. If we'd have got married, it would have been a terrible, terrible mistake, because it would have 100% ended in divorce. But so yeah, we had this amazing once in a lifetime for us, pretty much, honeymoon to go to Florida for 2 weeks, where we would go to theme parks. We loved theme parks. We kind of toured Britain, doing all the big theme parks in the UK. So we were just like, right, we both love theme parks. The best place to go is Florida for theme parks, so let's do that for our honeymoon. So all the money was spent, and then in between me and Kaz breaking up and the honeymoon, I met Eve, who is my current partner, and in that time, I'd started to get to know her. I think me and Karis were still living together at this point, but like we weren't together. And I had started to move out. Like, I started moving bits over to my mother's house again. So I met Eve, and I don't know, she was just this young, fiery kind of, just like live life to the full, sometimes childish, but like most of the times just fun person. And I just started getting to talk to her, and then one night we just decided that, should we just go out for a drink after work? And then that started like a 6-week, every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just going out and getting absolutely leathered. I spent a lot of money going out, and I'm not a big drinker. Anyone who knows me, I'm really not a big drinker. But yeah, it was a different type of relationship. It was fast and fun, and it wasn't like I wasn't used to it, because it was set. Like, I was settled in with Kaz, and we'd come home and we would just like couch on the sofa, and we had like just a really nice relationship. And this new one was just, it was brand new. It was fast. It was just like, I felt older around Eve than I did with Kaz, and that's not a bad thing. It was just crazy. But going back to my first point, I was due to go to Florida with Kaz, and in hindsight now, it was a terrible idea. But I went on my honeymoon with my ex-fiance while I had a girlfriend at home. So yeah, that was a bit like, it was a bit mental. So thinking about it now, that was a bit mental. So I said, I would text Eve every night. I would, like, the room that we were staying in had terrible Wi-Fi, so I'd have to go down to the the foyer and use the public Wi-Fi down there every night, and I would talk to her just for a little bit, just to assure her that like I wasn't coming back in a relationship again. And I know she just really didn't like it at all. So I'm there for 2 weeks with Kaz, and like the weird thing about it was this, like, every time we'd been abroad 3 times, maybe, like, we'd been on holiday 2 or 3 times in our whole relationship, me and Kaz, and every single time that we were away, we were split up going there. Like, apart, this time was different because we never got back together at the end. But Eve didn't like it, so I'm out there for 2 weeks with her. And the weird thing is, like, when you're in a relationship, you kind of just take certain things on the chin, because you just do for an easier life. And then, like, me and Karis were known for over the 7 years, we probably argued like 2 or 3 times big. And then on this holiday, the honeymoon, we'll call it, we just fought all the time, because you don't have to keep the other person happy when you're not together anymore. And it was kind of a shit way to kind of end things, because we always said, like, let's just stay friends, let's be amicable. And we have. I got absolutely no ill feelings towards her whatsoever. I got nothing bad to say about her. because we were just like victims of circumstance. I think when all the stuff happened, she just wasn't in a good space with me. Like she just did, like she felt that I wasn't doing things around the house. And I don't know, maybe like we weren't. I don't think like our sex life had gone horrible at that point. And I think she had just had enough, and I don't blame her for anything. But yeah, so I met this mental tornado, life changing Eve, and when I got back from Florida, there was a time in Florida. I don't know if everybody's ever been to Florida, but there's something called the Illuminations of Earth, which is a fireworks display in Epcot, which is one of the Disney parks. And I remember watching it, and like, I'm a massive fan of fireworks. I do love a good fireworks show, and this is one of the best on earth. Like, it must be. And we went there in the November, so there was like the Christmas special, which is like an even longer one. And the finale is literally, the fireworks are just kind of making the sky glow. It almost looks, it turns night into day almost. And the bangs, you feel them hit your chest. And it was a kind of, I don't know, it was mental, because it kind of cemented that, to me, in my mind anyway, that Eve wasn't a rebound, and everybody was saying she was a rebound, and like, it kind of thought, because at that time where I was like, it was stupidly emotional for a fireworks display, it was crazy. I just thought, fuck, I wish Eve was here, and like, that's what I, like, in my brain, that's what I said to myself, and I was like, I just wish Eve was here. And I think that was the bit that just like, okay, she isn't just like a flash in the pan to get me over Kaz, like. So I came home, and then we just started working on this relationship. So I had a lot of trouble with Eve's parents. They kind of found out about me, and the run-ins I've had with the run-in that I had with the police, and they heard, like, I don't know, second or third hand information, which was absolutely nothing like the truth, and they just kept on trying to kind of ruin our relationship. But we had a rough start because of this. Like, so we had to hide our relationship for like probably several years, probably 2.5 years. We had to hide our relationship from her parents. We had to kind of never have photos together. If she was out, she'd say that she was with a friend, but she was actually with me, and we would see each other a lot. And it was just, I don't know, it was just years of hiding. And one day it just all kind of came to a head, and she must have had this massive fight with her parents, which ended in her just literally just walking out, and like needing somewhere to stay. So this is another weird one. I was working probably an hour and a half maybe about away from my house. So I would work there, I would stay there for maybe like 10 or 14 days, and then I'd come home for 2 or 3, and then I'd go back. But she moved in with my my mother and my stepdad at this time. So she moves in with my mother, and I'm basically moving out because I live on site. So I'm a chef now in a resort that's an hour and a half away from my house. Maybe not an hour and a half, but over an hour away from my house. So I would go there, I would work long, maybe like 12 to 15 days on, then I'd come home for 2 or 3, and then I'd go again. But in this whole time, she was staying with my mother, which is weird. And then probably one of the things I'm most ashamed of in my whole life, I think, happened then, because I managed to do 7 years with Kaz, being this stand-up, loyal, non-cunt person, and then somehow I managed to become the person that would rip someone else's heart out and drop kick it. So I don't know. It was a weird time for me and Eve, because we'd had this massive argument, and I kind of thought she was cheating on me. It turns out she wasn't. And that isn't a justification for what I did, but it's like, in my mind I was like, she's fucking me over when I'm not there, like, and None of that, like, that's not substantiated at all. It didn't, like, it never happened. But in my mind, I obviously thought it did. But like, I ended up starting talking to this girl who I was working with, and I was spending a lot of time around these people. Like, I wasn't going home for 12 days minimum, and I don't know, I just spent a lot of time with them, and like, they would come over to like this little kind of studio flat that me and my brother were staying in while we were working. And I don't know, one night I just got really, really drunk, and I kissed this girl. And the thing about it is, like, I think, well, I don't think, I know, I had planned to do it, which isn't good. Not like I hadn't planned it for days, but like in the night I was just thinking, fuck, I think I'm gonna kiss her. And like, not even 1 second did I think about what that was gonna do to Eve if she ever found out. Like, and then that was the start of this really weird non-sexual affair. So like, I never slept with this girl, but we would like, stay with each other after work, and I would sit for hours just talking to her, and like, we'd walk around the lake that was in the thing. And it was really weird. I was kind of having two relationships with a person at the same time, but it wasn't sexual. It was, I can't explain it. Like, the only contact that ever happened was that kiss on the first night, and then afterwards it was just kind of this really unexplainable relationship that we kind of formed with each other, and that went on for a while. It must have, I haven't got a definite time scale, but it was months probably. And it came to a point where, like, I was leaving that place, and we said, like, oh, look, this needs to stop, because it's just weird. I wasn't coming home until like 2 or 3 in the morning, and yeah, it was really weird. And I can't explain what it was. I can't explain thing, but I know that, like, it was enough to think, like the girl, like, she was saying that she loved me and stuff, and it was a mental time. So I was working my notice in this place. It was a Sunday morning. I know exactly what it was, and my phone was broken, so the charger port wouldn't charge my phone, and I left my phone at home. And Eve must have had some sort of inkling about it, because she managed to get a phone working that I couldn't. So she had some skill there. And she turned my phone on, and she saw messages, and it was this girl's birthday, the day that Eve found the messages. So I had sent some message. I can't really remember what it said, but it was something about happy birthday, and I can't wait to see you, or something stupid like that. And so Eve opened the phone and she read it, and I was in work, and then I get, like, the phone rings in the kitchen. One of the front of house girls answers it, and she's like, "Oh, Dan, it's for you." So, like, obviously I had no inclination about what it was, so I answered the phone and I was like, "Hi, yeah, you right?" And, like, straight away, just the second that I heard her voice, and I could see her face with tears on it. I could hear the crying in her voice. And literally, like, no hello, she just said, "You've been cheating on me." And because, I don't know, I've got this thing, right? Like, I think if you do something and you get caught, just own up to it. And if you do something wrong, just own up to it. So, like, I don't know, it was horrible to say, but like, I literally just went, yeah. And I don't know, I just fuck it. I think I heard her heartbreak, like, and I said to her, "Look, I'm coming home." And now, bear in mind that the drive is probably like 40 minutes now, because I'd moved out at this point, and me and Eve were living together, and so I was just like, right, I'm coming home. I went to speak to my boss. I was like, "Look, I'm gonna have to cut my notice short," and he was like, "Oh, how long?" I was like, "No," and I was like, "Sorry, mate. Like, I really don't want to leave you in a shit, but I gotta go. Like, this is more important." And like I said, yeah, I am, like, even to this day now, if I say no, I'd stay after work for a pint with people, or if Eve asks me where I am, I will 100% tell her where I am, because I've got this thing. If she's asking where I am, she could already know. And like the worst thing I could do is lie to her, because like I got to build this trust back up somehow now, because like it was me that fucking took it. You know what I mean? Like I think she truly believed that I would never do that, and I truly believed that I would never do that. But for some reason, like circumstances took over, and a lot of selfishness on my part, and I don't know, I just didn't think about what I would do to her, like especially knowing how it feels. It's fucking horrible, and like I don't know, I hate myself for doing that. I still do now, but yeah, so I've got this thing where I feel like I have to tell the truth all the time. If she asks me, like I lied to Eve. I'm not gonna like. Do you know what I mean? I lied to her. They're white lies. But if she asks me where I am, what I'm doing, who I'm with, she will always get the answer. That's the truth. Because I'd rather take the blame for something that I've done wrong than her find out that I was lying again. So that's my kind of mindset on that. But yeah, so I came home to talk to her, and that was horrible, because like I don't know, I had nothing to defend myself. Like you can't make an excuse there. I did try. I said to her that I thought that she was cheating on me, and that was, I don't know, that was fucking stupid, because I don't know, there was just nothing there. There was no evidence. There was probably no even reason for me to think it. Like, and I know that it wasn't true now. I was just being a dickhead, and I think I was just trying to justify it to myself, to say, well, maybe she was cheating on me, and she wasn't. So she went out that night, and she didn't talk to me, and I was like, she's just gonna get me back now tonight, and then everything's done. Like, we're fucked, and we're just done. But she went out, like nothing happened. I think she just wanted to get away from me for a bit, like, and I think she wanted to make me pay, and she did. It was horrible, and so yeah, she went out and nothing happened. She stayed away for a couple of days, and then we just had this really long talk, and I was like, I think the fact that it never became like full on sexual affair, I think that's probably what made it, savable. To this day, she still doesn't trust me, and I can't blame her for it. Like, literally just last night, I stayed after work, and I had a couple of pints with 3 or 4 people, and I don't know, I could tell in the tone of her texts that she didn't fully believe what I was saying, but it was the truth. Like, so she texted me where I was, and I told her straight away, and it was just like, that's just the way I have to be. Like, I'd rather just take the blame, and and that's it. But we moved on from that, thankfully, and then we had our little boy. So we were talking about like, do you think we should have a kid? Now, this is a while after, right? We didn't just like, hey, I cheated on you, let's have a kid. So time passed, maybe a year or so, maybe a little bit less, and we were talking about, right, let's have a baby. And we thought maybe we had a year or so before she got pregnant from when we started trying. That was wrong. I think I think in the November we were talking about having a baby, and we found out on January 1st that she was pregnant. So that was that was a shock. And then, like, our relationship during the pregnancy, that took a battering, like hormones and everything. It's a tough time. I don't think anyone's ever ready to have a baby, but I think you should have a solid foundation on your relationship if you were even thinking about doing that. I don't think having a baby saves relationships. It can maybe strengthen a good relationship, but it destroys bad relationships. It honestly does. So, like, if anyone's going to take away anything from this, I'd say don't have a baby unless you are in a really, really strong relationship, because the pressure is like astounding for both the male and the female. It's just the way it is. And then that was 3 years ago. So the day of recording this is Wednesday the 5th of September. So my son is 3 years old tomorrow. And yeah, I mean, now I'm 6 years into this relationship with Eve, and I absolutely love the ground that she walks on, and we fight a lot. I think there's pressures of my work get into us, and like obviously we got a son who likes to break things and not listen and kind of act up, and I don't know. And like if I think about what my life was 5 years ago or 6 years ago before I met Eve, say 7 years ago, this isn't how I saw my life turning out, but I am very, very glad that I met someone like Eve. She's an amazing mother, and one day we're gonna get married and maybe have another kid. I don't really want one, but I'm probably going to end up being forced to have one. And I don't know, I'm as content as I can be in a life that is upside down, and I feel like maybe if there's anything to take away from my life, or anything that I could tell people, is just like maybe see things from your partner's perspective, which is what I'm trying to do now. And like I really wanted to start a fight with Eve yesterday when she was half accusing me of cheating on her, but instead I kind of saw it from her perspective, and I apologized, and I kind of just accepted the fact that I am to blame for her not trusting me. Like, she would trust me had I not broken her trust, so I have to take that into consideration every time that we argue about me not cheating on her, but she thinks I am. And yeah, we fight too much, and we don't listen to each other, and we take each other for granted. But I love her with all my heart. And that is it, guys. That is pretty much my relationship life. I've cut out a little bit where things were too real and things were too shit, but hopefully you kind of like this format until I can get Dai onto the stream, onto the podcast, like, fully. But like, honestly, if you're still listening now, massive thank you, and I hope you've had a little bit of insight into my relationship life. And then next Wednesday, I'm hopefully gonna just think of another subject and kind of just rattle it off again. Maybe not for as long this time. I had a lot to talk about in this one. But this has been episode 1 of the Big Fat Chat. I've been Dan, and I genuinely hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.